Hannibal Barca. Caius Terentius Varo, Special Ambassador of the Roman Senate. I think you know why I'm here. It's come to our attention that you've made military threats against the city of Saguntum.
I have.
Saguntum is an ally of Rome. She has our full protection.
Saguntum is a city in Spain, not Italy.
I trust you understand the rules of engagement. Make war on Saguntum, and you make war on Rome.
Our enemies await! It would be rude to keep them waiting! This is their last city! Their last rat hole to hide in! Let them cower behind their walls, but it will do them no good! We have not come this far to turn back now! Harden your hearts! Put them all to the sword! This is our moment of triumph! They think their walls are enough to stop us. They should think again. The count of our warriors is vastly greater than theirs, so unless we fight like old women or idiots, victory is certain. They stand alone. No friend has come to this place to die for them. Now, set your minds on the task to come. Strike hard! Strike without mercy!
After conquering most of Spain, the great general Hannibal had just one stubborn city left to deal with, the city of Saguntum. This wasn't just any city, it was an ally of Rome. Within the city walls, the people of Saguntum were fiercely pro-Roman. Hannibal set his sights on Saguntum. He stirred up trouble by encouraging allied tribes to pick fights with their Saguntine neighbors. Then, he tried to play the role of a judge, demanding the Saguntines come to him to settle the disputes. But it backfired. The leaders of Saguntum boldly told him they'd let Rome handle it. Furious at their defiance, Hannibal kicked out their ambassadors and marched his army to war. Saguntum was no easy target. It sat high on a ridge, protected by massive walls built to withstand a long siege. Hannibal immediately started planning his attack, but his first move was a mistake. He focused his army on the flattest ground to the west, thinking it would be the easiest place to bring in his battering rams. The problem was that the Saguntines knew this was their most vulnerable spot and had fortified it with their highest towers and their best soldiers. Hannibal's men began building siege engines, but the Saguntines fought back relentlessly. Finally, the Carthaginian army was ready. As Hannibal rode along the front line, explaining the final details of the attack to his officers, he drifted dangerously close to the city walls. An enemy skirmisher saw his chance. A well-aimed javelin flew through the air and struck the general in the thigh. Hannibal fell from his horse. Panic swept through his army when his bodyguards rushed in, picked up their wounded commander, and carried him to safety. The wound was serious, and the assault was called off. But just a few days later, Hannibal was back on his feet, leading his men in a furious storming of the city. Hannibal ordered his siege engines to pound the walls. Under a crushing barrage, 3 towers and the walls connecting them collapsed into rubble. He threw all his forces into the breach, hoping to overwhelm the defenders in a single, decisive blow. The battle was a brutal close-quarters slugfest in the ruins of the wall. The Saguntines fought with incredible bravery. Though Hannibal's men managed to push into the city and the fighting bogged down, the defenders rallied, drove the attackers out of the breach, and then pushed them back from the city walls entirely. Hannibal had to sound the retreat. While his men prepared, the Saguntines worked frantically, building a new wall to close the breach. But Hannibal had a new weapon, a massive siege tower, built taller than any of the city's defenses. When the second assault began, it was even fiercer than the first. The giant tower rolled toward the wall, with Hannibal himself commanding the troops around it. As it drew close, it loomed over the city's fortifications. From its top, a storm of arrows and stones rained down on the defenders, forcing them to abandon their posts on the wall. Seizing the moment, Hannibal ordered his men to undermine the wall's foundation. It wasn't long before new breaches appeared, and his soldiers poured into the city once again. The Carthaginians slowly but surely pushed the defenders deeper into Saguntum. The Saguntines fought for every street, but they were running out of food, supplies, and men. Help from Rome was nowhere in sight. Their situation was becoming hopeless. One Saguntine noble, Alcon, went to Hannibal's camp on his own to negotiate a surrender. But when he heard Hannibal's harsh terms, he knew his people would never accept them and would probably kill him for even suggesting them. He chose to become a deserter and stayed in Hannibal's camp. Another man, a Spaniard named Audacious, who served in Hannibal's army but had friends in the city, offered to deliver the terms. The city's leaders gathered to hear him speak. Audacious told them plainly that their walls and weapons could no longer protect them, and that peace, however bitter, was their only choice. Hannibal's terms were brutal. The people of Saguntum had to give up all their gold and silver. They had to leave the city unarmed, with only the clothes on their backs, and they had to resettle wherever he told them to. As the news spread, the citizens, in a final act of defiance and despair, began dragging their treasures into the public square. They built a massive bonfire and threw their gold and silver into the flames. Some of the city's nobles, seeing no way out, threw themselves into the fire as well. In the chaos, a tower on the citadel, which had been damaged in the fighting, finally collapsed. The Carthaginian soldiers guarding the area saw their chance and rushed in, immediately sending word to Hannibal that the walls were unguarded. After 8 long months, Saguntum had fallen. Though its people had destroyed many of their own treasures, Hannibal still captured an enormous amount of loot.
Rome will not tolerate this unprovoked attack on one of our allies. We demand that you surrender this general responsible, Hannibal Barca, to Roman authority and to face Roman justice.
On what authority do you come here to Carthage and threaten us, Fabius? Saguntum was rightly punished for attacking our allies.
Here, within the folds of my toga, hang peace or war. Which shall you choose, Carthage? Peace or war?
You say, Fabius. Let's Rome decide.
War!